Hi! Several people said I should do more Homestuck videos, so here's more Homestuck videos. So the other day I found a blog called Before I Read Homestuck, and I'll link to it down below so you can go check it out. It's basically just a bunch of people submitting things they thought about Homestuck before they read Homestuck. It's really funny and really fun because Homestuck is so weird and people have so many weird ideas about Homestuck before they actually know what it is. So I spent a bunch of time reading that blog and started thinking about what I thought of Homestuck before I read Homestuck. I kind of touched on this in my other Homestuck videos, but this is going to be a comprehensive list of all the misconceptions I had about Homestuck before I read Homestuck. Hopefully it's kind of funny. So the first one is that I thought you actually had to name John. So if you haven't read Homestuck or you've forgotten, when you go on the first page of Homestuck, the very first thing you have to click is Enter Name. If you have read Homestuck, you know that that takes you to the infamous Zoo Smell Poop Lord naming screen, and then to the actual John Egbert naming screen. But when I read that first page for the first time, I thought I was genuinely going to have to type in a name for this character. And I spent probably a good 10 minutes sitting on that first page deciding what I was going to name the main character before I clicked onto the next page. So I sat there thinking about what I was going to name this kid, and I don't remember what decision I came to. Honestly, I was probably going to name him after some other character from something else I liked. Honestly, I was probably going to name him Usopp. But I do remember I sat there thinking about it before I clicked Enter Name, and then didn't actually get to enter a name, and then realized that Homestuck isn't actually the interactive thing I thought it was. And that was basically my first experience with knowing that Homestuck wasn't going to be anything I thought it was. The other thing I thought before I read Homestuck was that the kids were going to completely disappear by Act 6, and it was only going to be about the trolls. I had sort of perused the Homestuck wiki a little bit before I read it, and seen stuff on Tumblr and stuff, so I knew that the trolls came in a later act and that it really focused on them. And for some reason everything I'd read made me think that it completely focused on the trolls. Like, I legitimately thought I would get to Act 5 or whatever, and the kids' story would just end. It wouldn't be about the kids ever again, it was just going to be about the trolls. Hussey had completely forgotten about the kids, and now it was just a story about trolls. I just genuinely thought the kids were going to stop being important characters. I remember talking to my sister when I was reading the really early acts, and was really excited about the kids and I really liked them, and telling her how I was so sad that the kids were going to go away and that it was only going to be about the trolls, and I was like, I don't care about the trolls, I love these kids, I want it to continue being about these kids, why did you do this, Hussey? And then I got to the later acts and realized the kids and the trolls exist in the same story, and even though it focuses on the trolls for a while, it doesn't actually stop being about the kids, and they're still important characters for the whole comic, which I'm very happy about because I love those kids. Another thing I thought, which I also picked up from perusing the wiki and not paying that much attention, was that I thought the kids' guardians were going to play Spur, or that the kids' guardians had played Spur before the kids did. I guess I'd read something about how the Alpha Kids had played the game in an alternate universe, but I thought it was the parents. Basically, I thought Mom and Dad and Bro and Grandpa Harley had all played Spur when they were children before the other kids did, and that we were gonna find out that this was like every generation this family had to play Spur. There's a point early on where John's sneaking around in his dad's stuff and he finds a newspaper clipping about a meteor shower, and it turns out later that that's the meteor shower where the kids landed on Earth and got found by their guardians, but I thought that was hinting that there had been another instance of Spur before that, and that's where the guardians had played. So I was just waiting for the reveal that all the guardians as children had played Spurb already, and that never happened. And I was really confused until we got the Alpha Kids and I realized that it was actually the Alpha Kids in an alternate universe who played Spurb and not the actual parents in that universe. And very confusing. Another really weird thing I thought, way before I even started Homestuck, when I didn't even know what it was yet, was I thought it was something you downloaded, and I thought you somehow played it using MS Paint. I don't know what I was thinking, but I saw that it was from a website called MS Paint Adventures, and I saw that it was like inspired by video games and text adventure games, and I saw that there was something called updates, and that it was a lot of text, but also some images, and for some reason I got it in my head that the way Homestuck worked was Hussey would post updates and you would download them to your computer and play like a text adventure game with pictures in MS Paint. Somehow. I don't know what I was thinking, and I don't know how that would work, and I don't know why I thought that specifically, but I very distinctly remember thinking Homestuck was played using MS Paint. Somehow. And the last thing I thought before I read Homestuck was that I was gonna hate Vriska. And I know some people do hate Vriska, and I know Vriska's a very complicated character, but I originally thought I was gonna hate her. Because before I read Homestuck, I read a lot of Homestuck Ask blogs, and mostly I read Tavros Ask blogs, because before I even read Homestuck, Tavros was my favorite character, thanks to internet fandoms. So I read all of those, and on most of these Ask blogs, Vriska was just really, really mean to Tavros. And it turned out that Vriska is super, super mean to Tavros, but I love her. Not because she's mean to Tavros, and not really because of anything to do with Tavros, but because Vriska's a really interesting, complicated character, and she is terrible, but I love her so much. Honestly, Vriska is one of my top favorites after Tavros, and I thought I was gonna hate her, and I didn't. So I don't know if that's an indication of how the fandom portrays her versus the way she is in canon, or just what I thought, but that was another misconception I had. I went into it thinking I was gonna hate Vriska, I came out of it loving Vriska, and still Tavros, so that was something I was right about. I thought I was gonna love Tavros and I still loved him. I'm sure there was a lot of other things I thought before I read Homestuck, and I'll probably remember some later, so maybe there'll be like a part 2 to this. But yeah, those were a few things I thought about Homestuck before I read Homestuck, and I thought would be funny or interesting to share, and I just remembered recently because of that cool blog. So check out that blog. And let me know what you thought. If you've read Homestuck, tell me what you thought before you read Homestuck. Or if you haven't read Homestuck, tell me what you think of Homestuck now, and if you plan on reading it or whatever. I am still planning on rereading Homestuck and kind of talking about it as I reread it, so look forward to that. But I wanted to make this first, so thank you to everyone who's watched all of my Homestuck videos, by the way. One of them has over 5,000 views, and that's crazy, so thank you so much. I'm glad you guys have enjoyed my Homestuck videos. I'm super definitely gonna make more because I really enjoy Homestuck, and I really enjoy making videos about Homestuck. So if you want to see more Homestuck videos from me and you haven't already, then maybe subscribe, and like this video, and leave me a comment, and talk to me about Homestuck, because I love talking about Homestuck.